Hello YouTubers, Alaska Prepper here. Happy Sunday, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our bi-weekly news compilation video. Now, did you really believe that the IRS was going to hire all those extra tens of thousands of agents just to review or audit the taxes of the less than 1,000 billionaires here in the United States? Or did you really think that maybe there was something else behind it? Well, ladies and gentlemen, it seems that in order for the IRS to keep all of the employees that they're hiring, that they're going to need to audit some extra people because they're going to need the cash. I'm going to talk about that today, and we'll be covering many other things, ladies and gentlemen, so stand by. Thank you very much for joining in. You remember a year or two back when they were talking about passing a bill that was going to fund the IRS like an extra 81 or 80 billion dollars, something like that, and that they were going to use those funds in order to improve the IRS in various ways, but mainly to go after those pesky billionaires and really super rich people so that they can pay their fair share. Well, that's what I call letting the camel get its nose inside the tent. Eventually, it will get its entire body inside that tent and cause havoc. That's why we have to be very careful when we allow these laws to be passed, because eventually it will come down to us, because a government that continues to grow has to continue to add funds to its coffers, or else it will cease to exist. IRS warns low to middle income taxpayers could make up bulk of tax audits. I thought this was supposed to be for the wealthy. The agency seeks more funds to accommodate its ever-increasing staffing requirements, with the bulk of current funding used for enforcement activities. To them, it's not your money, it's their money. They just have to find a way to take it from you. Before we continue with this, I want to give a shout out to Epoch Times. I have a subscription with Epoch Times, and no, I'm not being sponsored by them. I'm not being paid by them. I'm not affiliated with them. I just think that they report very good and honest news. So every day I get a newsletter from them with their top news. So if you go to the article that I'm going to be reading off of right now, I'll leave the link in the description of the video, not for only the article that I'll be reading about the IRS, but every article, ladies and gentlemen, whether or not from Epoch Times. I just want to give them a shout out because they put out awesome news and awesome information, and I check their stuff every single day. And it's things that you're not going to find really in the mainstream media. And I can see that a couple of these articles here that they've shared with me are a couple that I will be talking about later on this video. But let's get back to the main story of this video, because we need to understand that it is we, the people, the middle class, the poor, the wage earner, that they are coming after. We are the ones that make up the bulk of the wealth of this country. So who else are they going to come after? It's not the billionaires, it's we, the people. A failure to properly fund the IRS could result in lower and middle income taxpayers facing a higher share for tax audits, warned the agency in a recent report. So pretty much they're going to go ahead and say, hey, you either give us the money or we're going to come after the people, those that you're supposed to be representing. Because trust me, ladies and gentlemen, the government already represents the billionaires and the multimillionaires. They already represent them pretty darn well. So they're talking about us. On May 2nd, the IRS released an update of its strategic operating plan, which outlines the dozens of improvements the agency made for taxpayers with the $80 billion funding secured from the Inflation Reduction Act. So they're taking our funding in order to become bigger so that they can take more of our dollars. You cannot make this stuff up. According to the report, they are using funding to boost enforcement personnel like accountants, engineers, economists, data scientists, attorneys, and tax experts with specialized skills. This is not good for our nation's economics, that they take money that we could have been using to actually spend in the economy to make more jobs on our backs. That's actually not a good thing, ladies and gentlemen. The new staff is expected to allow the IRS to double audit rates on the wealthiest taxpayers, reversing the sharp decline in audit rates over the 2010s. Well, now they're coming after you. Now, this is the important part, so I hope you're listening. However, The IRS seeks more funds to accommodate its growing personnel over the coming years, meaning that they're becoming a bigger bureaucracy, and they want to be able to keep the people that they already have that has made them bigger and stronger and more powerful, and therefore they're going to need more money coming in all the time, not just one injection of 80 billion. That was just the beginning. And they say that without additional funds, the IRS will be forced to reduce its enforcement staff by more than 50% in fiscal year 2030. Do you think that they're going to reduce their enforcement staff by 50%? I'm sure that if you ask the average earner, worker, wage earner, salary earner, W-2 worker on the street, if this was a good thing, they'd be like, that is a great thing. We can use those funds for something else instead of the harassment of the American people. A lack of funding could end up increasing the scrutiny on low-income filers, the IRS stated, meaning that if they don't get funded, they're going to be looking at those that they can pick on easily because we don't have the resources to defend our status. And now, do you understand when some people say that we do not live in a free country? It's because of things like this. Yes, I understand, ladies and gentlemen. We live in a free country. We can do whatever we want, really. And those things that we do that maybe are not good things, we pay the consequences for them, right? Every day. But you know what I mean? That when your money is really not looked at as your money. I mean, technically, the Federal Reserve note is not even yours. Even if you hold it in your hand, it's not yours. Even if you have it in the bank, it's not yours. But they think, the bureaucrats, the ones that are in charge of this, they're like, wait a minute. If we don't get this funding, if we don't get the American people to give us this money, you know, passed by law, then we're going to have to take it from them. That's what they're saying. It's pretty sad. And this is why I say that the future of any state really falls on the government of that specific state. And the state's governors have a lot of power against the federal government, where they can say, no, thank you. We're not going to go ahead and participate in that crazy thing that you're trying to make us do. Arkansas Governor Sanders issues executive order defying Biden administration's Title IX rule. Arkansas Governor Sanders issued an executive order on Thursday directing state schools to defy the Biden administration's expansion on Title IX protections to include students identifying as that. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is not necessarily as people identifying as this or that, but this I'm putting out there because it's very important that the states fight back. It's not only about this stuff that's going on with kids in school, but it's also about the Second Amendment. It's also about taxation, It's also about what's real money. You know that there's a lot of states out there that are now saying, hey, gold and silver are real money and they will not be taxed. Why? Because how can you tax money, right? You can be taxed on what you earn, even though that, in my opinion, is unconstitutional. But how can you tax money, actual money, so it's not going to be taxed? And this is what I'm talking about. The states have to fight back. It depends on what kind of a state government and governor you have. Do they have the guts to actually say no to the federal government? That is their duty. Now, in my opinion, this is not a huge recall, but we have to cover it nonetheless, just in case it's in your area. Cargill recalls 8 tons of ground beef at Walmart stores nationwide over possible E. coli. Cargill recalled all natural lean ground beef with lot code 117. Take a look at the rest of these just in case you purchased any ground beef or beef products from Walmart recently. You can at least take a look at the lot codes and see what kind of meat it is that you bought. Now, this is a pretty interesting post on X, ladies and gentlemen. They say it was eggs last week, peanut butter the week before, granola bars before that. Who in the world is letting this all through? I don't know. I actually didn't even know that there were all that many recalls in just the last week or so. And who could have seen this coming, ladies and gentlemen? Long Beach hotel housing homeless sparks tuberculosis outbreak as health emergency is declared. And of course, coming from California, a health crisis has emerged for Democrat officials in Long Beach, California, following a tuberculosis outbreak linked to a hotel housing homeless people, according to Fox News. On Thursday, health officials declared a public health emergency after an alarming tuberculosis outbreak was reported at an unnamed hotel housing. And they say that the city has so far confirmed 14 cases of tuberculosis in people associated with a single room occupancy hotel. 9 of them were hospitalized with one fatal case. Another 170 were likely exposed to the deadly bacteria. California, I'm sorry to say, is just going to continue to go downhill if the same people that are running it now continue to run it for too much longer. And for our last story, this is actually a good one. There comes a time where an economy or a country has to wake up just in order to be able to survive. Because the longer that they stay asleep and the longer that they keep going down that road, they can see for themselves that there's a wall at the end and that they're going to hit it pretty fast. Europe scraps net zero. Listen to that. I never thought I would hear this, but here we are. Europe scraps net zero and Biden won't. But why? Well, I think I would know why he won't scrap net zero. It's because the United States of America, and this is my opinion and my opinion alone, the United States of America has been forsaken to powers that are outside of our borders. And these people pretty much own the people that are supposed to be serving us, the people of the United States. Anyways, let me not go on a rant. This is the last story we have to cover. And understand this, for those of you that may be new here, I love solar. I love solar panels. I love solar generators. I love being able to power stuff in my house that would normally cost me electricity or having to pay money for electricity during the summer months or sunny months for free. I've been running both of my freezers, my refrigerator. I've been running the bunker, pretty much for free for the last month or so that we've had sun. So I love this stuff, but I believe that this type of energy, solar energy, wind energy, etc., I believe that it is a great complement to grid energy, because when the sun fails, the grid can still work with the fuels that we use now to keep it going. You've stumbled through the looking glass when European politicians start sounding saner on climate policy than the Americans do. Well, here we are. Europeans are admitting the folly of net zero quicker than the American peers. Now, ladies and gentlemen, again, I will leave that article's link on a pinned comment. And I just have this to say about this green energy stuff. It is nothing but a great transfer of wealth. That's all it is. All you have to do is use your common sense. And I know that those of you that are OGs, that have been here for a while, and if you're still here in this part of the video, you're awesome. But I know that those of you that have been here for a while have heard me say this before. If we have made such an impact on the availability of green energy around the world, don't you think that the world as a whole would be using less oil today or this year than we did 10, 15 years ago? Whereas we as a world, after the trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars that the world has spent on green energy at the behest of the UN, the WHO, the whoever, right? After all those trillions of dollars that have been taken from we the people of the world has been spent on green energy, we are not using one drop less oil per year than what we did when we started this boondaggle, is what I'm going to call it. Instead, we're using more and more oil every year, all right, as they continue to put carbon taxes on people's living, especially in Canada, is the one that I see that is being treated the worst with these carbon taxes, right? So they keep putting all of these carbon taxes on you human beings because you're terrible for emitting carbon and for eating meat. So what are they doing with all that money? Who is getting rich? Follow the money. Having said that, I'm going to go ahead and get off my soapbox. God bless every one of you. Thank you very much for joining in. God bless America. I'm Alaska Prepper. I'm out. Ladies and gentlemen, the sponsor of today's video is Jase Medical. Some of you may ask, but AP, don't you already work with a company that provides antibiotics? Yes, I do. And I've often said that competition is the best thing for the consumer. guaranteeing that you get the best product at the best price. And that's why I've decided to partner with Jase Medical, because they offer different things at different prices, and you can see for yourself. For example, this month they have the Jase Go Bag, which is a brand new travel size kit that you can take with you pretty much anywhere you go. And it has you covered for over 30 different illnesses. For example, motion sickness, diarrhea. I know it sounds nasty, but these things do happen. STIs, UTIs, ear infections, pneumonia, strep throat, pretty much illnesses that can ruin your fun during a vacation or getaway, but can also be used to prevent illnesses from getting out of control and being life-threatening. And for the month of May, it is on sale for $129.95. In addition to that, I do have a code that would save you an additional $10 off the price at checkout. And guess what? Jase Medical is also available in Canada. And if you're looking for something more robust, the Jase case is their most popular item, which brings your standard antibiotics amongst other medications that you may need in the case that you couldn't make it to a health professional for whatever reason. And all of these medications, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you that may not know, they are all prescription medications. And it's a prescription that's written by a doctor after you fill out a short survey, just to make sure that you're not allergic to any of these medications before a pharmacist, a real pharmacist, fills the prescription and gets it shipped out to you. Jase Medical has pretty much something for everyone, all the way from the base, from the Jase Go to the Max and Kid case. And here you can see that you have the availability to add on additional medications to your purchase that you may want to stock up on. And again, ladies and gentlemen, if you would like to take advantage of their Jase Go case, it is on sale for the month of May for $129.95 minus $10 if you use the coupon provided in the description, and I will also leave it on a pinned comment.